It was supposed to be a peaceful weekend at my lake cabin, the kind of quiet escape where I could sit back, sip coffee, and enjoy the sound of water brushing against the shore. But of course, with Karen from the HOA involved, peace never lasted long. My wife and I had barely settled in when my phone buzzed. On the line was none other than a U.S. district judge, someone I had been working with regarding the HOA's shady dealings. The HOA had been abusing power for months, overcharging residents, enforcing ridiculous rules, and threatening anyone who dared to push back. Finally, the case had made it into federal court, and this was the moment that would seal their fate. As I stepped out onto the porch to take the call, I heard the sound of stomping, angry, heavy footsteps. Sure enough, Karen herself came storming up the dock and barged straight into my cabin, as if she owned the place. "You can't just stay here without the HOA's approval," she snapped, her voice echoing off the wood walls. She had that familiar look, arms crossed, chin raised, every inch of her radiating false authority. What she didn't realize, of course, was that I wasn't just any homeowner, and this wasn't just any weekend. On the other end of the call, the judge could hear her screeching in the background. I calmly told her, "Karen, you're interrupting a federal conversation you have no part in. This is bigger than your HOA rules." But she didn't back down. Instead, she shouted louder, claiming the HOA had jurisdiction over my property, demanding I leave immediately, and even threatening to call the sheriff. That's when the judge spoke loud enough for her to hear through the speakerphone. "Ma'am, this is Judge Reynolds, U.S. District Court. You are dangerously close to obstructing justice. Do you understand the consequences of interfering with a federal investigation?" The color drained from Karen's face. She stuttered, tried to form words, but nothing came out except a weak, I didn't know." The judge wasn't finished. He went on to explain that the HOA's actions were already under review for fraud, harassment, and abuse of power. Karen had not only barged into private property without permission, but she had also just given the court more evidence of harassment and intimidation. Her bravado crumbled in seconds. The woman who usually loved to lecture others was suddenly shrinking into herself, looking around as if trying to find a way out without making it worse. I stood there quietly, letting the silence weigh heavy in the room. Finally, I said, "Karen, this isn't your HOA playground anymore. You've been warned, and now you've just exposed your entire board." She turned on her heel and left without another word, slamming the door behind her. But it wasn't with the same confidence she had entered with. It was the sound of defeat. When I got back on the call, the judge chuckled softly and said, "Well, that was unexpected, but useful. Thank you for letting her speak freely. She just made my job a lot easier." And that's when it hit me. The HOA had finally dug their own grave. All I had to do was stay calm, and Karen's arrogance had taken care of the rest. So while I had come to the cabin for peace, what I ended up with was something far more satisfying. The moment Karen and her entire HOA lost their power, not because I raised my voice, but because the law itself was now against them. And trust me, that was a victory worth every second of chaos she tried to bring into my home.